Welcome back to Ignite&Scale, the show where we dig into the real stories behind startup growth, resilience and scaling smart. Today I'm kicking off Series 3 with a brilliant guest, Angela Montacute, CEO of Digital INNK. This is one of the most exciting businesses at the intersection of software and fleet automotive operations. We'll explore the journey from startup to scale up, the lessons learned along the way, and what it takes to build technology that actually moves the industry forward. Let's dive in. Angela, good morning. For those who might not have come across Digital INNK yet, could you give us a quick snapshot, please? And what problem are you trying to solve and who are you solving it for?
Thanks, Mike. Really great to be here. So problem we're solving and who we're solving it for. Well, the team at Digital INNK are all about solving the pain points of the industry that the fleet industry, because we've been working in it for many years and we've seen over and over again where the inefficiencies are. And we decided to take a fresh look at each area and see what we could do with the latest tech to solve those problems. So whether you're managing a fleet or you're providing services to a fleet, those are the people that we're looking to solve for. So we started with looking at the service maintenance and repair processes. And we've already connected over 7,000 garages to hundreds of thousands of fleet vehicles via our platform Vision. And those, I say garages, to be fair, you've got a combination of franchise, independent, national fast fit and mobile. So a broad spectrum of providers. And you could say, and I'm sure many of your audience are saying, well, what's new about that? There's already platforms out there that do that. And our answer is, well, we do it differently. Very, very differently. We take the latest technology, a fresh perspective on the end-to-end process, and most importantly, a collaborative user-driven development approach. We've been able to vastly improve the user experience, and that really does reduce administrative friction for fleet managers. And also we've really focused on trying to help improve operational efficiency for garages as well. So the platform automates all the way from the booking, the authorization of maintenance events, the management of cost control, uptime, and all the invoicing, but also simplifying the processes at the garage end as well. And because of the way the platform is structured, all the features are fully integrated. So there's no extra modules, no double keying, no uploading to lots of different places, files and the like. So put simply, it's all about making fleet maintenance smarter, faster, more transparent. And because of the technology we use, we can make our commercial model extremely compelling. So it makes it a big win for everyone involved.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I've seen you scale up Digital INNK from a startup idea into a business that's now trusted by some major players. But just to pinpoint the original insight or frustration, was the one thing where you said, we have to build this, we have to do it differently, or was it a multitude of different factors that you could build and make the process easier? What was the original frustration that drove you to build Digital INNK?
Well, to be honest, I think coming from the industry, you could really see there was a clear need to modernise the technology landscape. And as a management team, we've all spent years in this sector. And we've seen firsthand those inefficiencies at how fleets have to manage, their processes and in this context, their maintenance events. There's so many manual processes, fragmented systems, and that was missing opportunities to deliver really great service in a cost-effective way. And it was frustrating also to see how many people needed to be involved in every aspect of the process, whether that's data management, cost control, managing downtime. And it wasn't any better on the supplier side either. Garages were struggling with inconsistent workflows, decision delays, all on top of a period of squeezed margins. So we realised, that if you adopted a digital first and data-driven approach, you really could create significant value for everybody involved. I mentioned before, reducing that friction and transforming the way that SMR was managed. And that's really the heart of why we decided to build Vision. It's a platform that aims to make fleet operations seamless and connected.
I mean, it's not easy, is it? You've created a kind of a seamless win-win solution, but as we know, automotive's a tough sector. There's big expectations. They're slow to change, and that there must have been a lot of frustration along the way as well, where you're offering a compelling solution. Yeah, it still takes time for people to accept it and to go through the decision-making processes, etc. Are there any kind of pivotal moments where you look back to say, this has now been validated as a must-have? Some of the earlier customers that you've had on the platform, I'm assuming they wouldn't be without you now because of what you've created. And just be interesting to, I think it'd be really useful to go through that frustration when you know you've got the right solution and how you get through that.
Yeah, it's amazing actually. When you think back where we've come from, because whilst you can have the best possible technology, it doesn't mean anything if you haven't got customers using it and suppliers providing their services through it. And it's a tough journey, when you start out and you knock on a potential customer's door and you say, look at my wonderful platform, and they say, oh, that's fantastic, how many garages are connected? And then you go to the garages and you say, can you come and join my wonderful platform? And they go, well, how many customers have you got? Those first steps are very chicken and egg.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's how it is. But we found some really, really cracking supporters of ours in terms of early adopters on both customer side and supplier side. And I would say exactly what you're saying. A big turning point is when our early adopters started telling us that Vision wasn't just a helpful tool, but it was genuinely slashing their admin time and significantly cutting their costs. And that is again on both sides of the equation. And when you hear that from real users, you're onto something big. And this feedback, coupled with the scale we've been able to onboard customers and garages, gives us a huge market credibility, and the confidence, therefore, to continue to invest in our growth. So I think this blend of customer validation, measurable impact, has really solidified our product market fit. So yeah, it's not been easy, but I think, we're there, we've done it, we've got it, and people love it. People love it.
That's great. And what would you say were some of the most important decisions you made to scale Digital INNK in this kind of, the way I've seen it is it's a very sustainable and smart way. I do recognize the challenges that you've had and the chicken and egg from the beginning, but what when you look back at that scale up, what would you say were the most important decisions you made to break through that and scale the operation?
I think, from us, we've always been very, very disciplined about scaling efficiently. Early on, we resisted the temptation to grow at any cost and focused instead on building a solid, reliable, scalable tech stack. And also, I think the targeting of the right customers. You need somebody who's on board with your long-term vision and is going to really buy into going on the journey with you. So we invested also in a highly capable offshore development team out in India, and that allowed us to maintain strong cost control without compromising quality. Important in those early days. So I think by building these kind of mutually beneficial relationships with people who are aligning with what you're trying to do, it's how we've been able to maintain a healthy unit economics and forge a clear path to profitability. I think that's the basics. You're not going to win everybody on day one, so you need to find those people that are aligned with what you're trying to do and are willing to travel that journey with you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And Angela, you've had some big jobs in the industry. You've scaled a business from a startup position. What one piece of advice would you give to founders out there looking to build a SaaS business in the automotive sector or similar? What's the standout bit of advice you might give them?
Oh, well, there's probably a couple of key points. I think you've really got to understand where your customers' pain points are and let that be your guide to your product development. It's very easy, especially in the early days, to be lured off track by the next potential shiny project. You really have to stay laser focused on what you're trying to do. And you're right, it's a complex sector, automotive, but trust and reliability are critical. So it's essential to build solutions that do genuinely solve a real world problem. They're not just adding bells and whistles to something. The big one though, I would definitely say to anybody who's starting up or starting to scale, you've got to be in it for the long game. B2B buying decisions take time, and there's multiple stakeholders involved. So even having by far the best product at by far the best price isn't necessarily going to speed that up. So you really have to plan and manage for that long game. And I think you also have to be aware that, change management is a big thing that companies have got to consider. And if you're going to try and instigate change, you have to design your project and your implementation approach to really help the customer through their own change management process, making your implementation as easy as possible and as risk-free as possible. Now, but I think if, the rewards are there for those that can deliver that tangible value and crucially be able to stay the course.
No, that's great advice. And, looking ahead, as you look into the next 12 to 18 months and time to get your crystal ball out, I guess, what excites you the most about where Digital INNK is heading, and where do you think the automotive sector more broadly, as you see it, is heading over the next 12, 18 months?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're still super, super excited about the future. We've really taken on board some fantastic partnership integrations. So we've got a number of those planned over the next 6 to 9 months, which will drive further efficiency. So cutting out this rekeying that goes on and take the user experience to a whole new level. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff on the roadmap for literally the imminent future. There's also, you hear it everywhere you go, there's such a lot of chatter about the opportunities of AI and what that will bring for fleets. Well, we're quite, we don't chatter, we actually do. And we've been working on an AI model for, well over 18 months now. And where we've got to with that is we can really see where the potential is for that to aid decision making, for sure, but also streamline that whole end to end. And I think, well, and the team think as well, this is something that could fundamentally change the economics of fleet operations. So there's a lot there. I think broadly speaking, though, for the whole industry, I mean, everybody is looking at where they can improve that end user experience, where they can manage and control their cost base. And therefore, I do see that, the industry has a desire to change. It's begun moving towards more data-driven, more transparent and more customer-centric approaches. You read about that every day when you look at the fleet press. And for me, I think at Digital INNK, we're perfectly positioned to be right in the heart of that transformation, driving and supporting that digital movement. So, overall, we're very optimistic for the future.
Yeah. No, it sounds like you're in a sweet spot at the right time in the industry. So, and congratulations for what you've built to date. We know it's a fabulous business with fabulous people around you as well. So it's great to see you prosper. So Angela, thanks so much for joining us today. Some really valuable insights for budding founders, etc. And for anybody who wants to learn more about yourself or Digital INNK, what's the best way to get hold of you?
Send me a message through LinkedIn. I think is probably the best way, Mike. I'm normally pretty good at picking up on them and responding. So just give me a hint at what sort of sector you're in and what you're looking to do, and then by sure I'll get in touch.
That's perfect, and we'll link out all the relevant links in the show notes as well. So thanks again, Angela. Really good.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Mike.
If you want to listen to more episodes of the podcast, we're on all good audio platforms. Our website is also www.cambriaprivatecapital.com, and you can also find myself on LinkedIn and Twitter, where we publish our weekly blogs as well. Please do get in touch if you want more information.